You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Chiropractic Rocks, True Weight Solutions, The 100-Year Lifestyle, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Ultimate Entrepreneur Opportunity, BrainTap, Sherman College of Chiropractic, SCED, ChiroPro Accounting, and Midwest Brain Health Technology. Let's hustle!
Hey guys, welcome to episode 247 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I am your co-host, Luke Millette. Here's your host, Jim Chester.
So today we have the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Edwin Cordero, and if you want to talk about the future of chiropractic, stay tuned. All right, this is another amazing episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Today we have El Presidente Edwin Cordero, president of Sherman College of Chiropractic, and it's such an honor to have you on for our second interview with you. I know our first interview is almost 2 years ago now. We've done 200 episodes between your first interview and today's interview. And first and foremost, we just want to welcome you to our show.
Thank you so much, Jim and Luke. And it's so funny because I used to have hair when we did the interview, and look at what's happened to me after these 200 interviews. So, I want to congratulate you and Luke. You guys have done an amazing job, and I'm always blessed and honored when you invite me to come and speak. So this is a special day, and I'm excited for our conversation.
Well, you're always present, and sometimes somebody that's so present in so many different arenas, especially being at the helm of a college, getting your attention. I had to do a lot of knocking on the door to say, hey, let's do this again. But anything with good preparation and good connection, we get good outcome, which is getting you on our show again. So we just want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to make sure that this happened.
Well, I'm privileged, and like I said, I'm blessed for the opportunity, and so I'm excited to be able to share.
All right. So per our Chiro Hustle format, on a second show, we always like to ask our guests what's changed or what's gone different since our last interview. And maybe you could share with us what's improved for you and what's going on in your world and at Sherman.
Well, Jim, it's really interesting. 2 years ago, we were in the process of finalizing our new building at Sherman College, a new Gilardi Student Center. We were at this situation where we had grown so fast and so quickly that we really were kind of like choking our space as far as our students having their private space, and the faculty and the staff and the employees. And so 2 years ago, we were in that hustle and bustle, trying to get the building done, trying to get some space and some gap for our students and some relief for our students and our faculty. So 2 years ago, we were in that hustle. Today, thank God that's been done. It's a beautiful building. We've really created this space where the students can go and hang out and enjoy their space, where they have, we have our bookstore, and we have our cafeteria, we have our study spaces, and we have our auditorium. And so therefore, it's been a busy 2 years. And now all of a sudden we've gotten to the point that now we're starting to breathe. And of course, me being me, I'm already thinking about, okay, what's next? We got some more projects that we need to start working. As a visionary, I'm always looking 3 or 4, years in advance of what needs to be done. So since the last 2 years ago, a lot of things have changed as far as the infrastructure of Sherman College. The quality of education obviously continues to improve. So we're excited about that, Jim.
So maybe you could also tell us some things in the last 200 episodes, maybe some things that have not gone how you expected them to, and what did you learn from them, and how did you adapt to the changes?
So Luke, it's interesting that sometimes you throw the vision as a vision. As a leader, you have these visions, and you cast vision, and and a lot of times you may cast 8 things or 10 things that are out there. And you know what? If you get half of them, you're lucky to do so. And so in this particular case, I think that everything that we've actually tried to do in the past 2 years, and we have been very fortunate to be able to accomplish those things. the number one thing, obviously, and it's not an excuse, it's just reality, the craziness in the world that happened in 2020, and how to navigate and how to pivot and how to do things better but different under the circumstances. And I think that, if anything, we've learned an incredible lesson this year. I'm going to tell you, like most people have probably shared with you, I think 2020 was an incredible year for Sherman College. It had a bunch of difficulties, had a bunch of challenges. It had a bunch of just doing things differently, trying to figure out what really worked to allow our organization to continue. So there was a lot of challenges in this past year trying to navigate through this, but I think we did an amazing job.
So that's good to hear that Sherman's adapting to what's been going on. Maybe how has it affected your life personally outside of Sherman?
Well, it's interesting. I've always been a person of balance, and so it's hard to be in a leadership role and be able to remember. So I have a mantra. My mantra is very simple. It's God, family, chiropractic, and so I try to keep those three things in balance. And I've always done that. I did that when I was in private practice. I did that before becoming a chiropractor. I've done it through Sherman College. But one of the things that I did that I think was something that needed to happen was the fact that this whole year was a year sabbatical, because even though we were working and doing things and whatever, I was able to create more of a balance of spending more time with my children, spending more time with my beautiful wife, Debbie, spending time with my grandchildren, and still being focused on the things that we've done at Sherman College. So I have a pastor. My pastor I never understood this. He'd always say, Ed, every 4 months I would take time off. And I'm like, why is he taking so much time off every 4 months? Well, you know what? That was his time of sabbatical. That was his time to recharge his batteries. That was his time to read books. That was his time to listen to music. That was his time to go fishing. And so I've never heeded to that advice like I did this year. So this year, through the craziness that happened in the world, I was able to read more books. I was able to, like I said, spend more time with my wife, Debbie, with my grandchildren, and still be challenged and be able to do the things that needed to be done at Sherman College. So that balance was more profound this year because of the circumstances.
Well, it's nice to hear your honesty about when you actually get a chance to look at it through another looking glass. And, a lot of us would have chosen just to go on as business as usual. And I think that a lot of us became a little disrupted and we couldn't find the gift in what happened. And I think it's really amazing to hear that you've actually found the gift in, how things have shifted for all of us. And, a lot of people want to either cast blame, or they want to have a pity party, or they want to feel, like this was taken from me and I had to do it differently. But the gift is we all got a chance to have more reflection, and we all had a chance to see what's possible. And I think that everybody that's watching this should just start asking themselves more consistently, what's possible and what should we be doing? And I think that it's important to get closer to family. I think it's important to take that big visionary mind of yours and to say, now I've had some time to actually cultivate a better vision, because I've had a chance to look at the world with a different looking glass. So I think it's honest, it's honorable, and it's awesome to see what can transpire because of a shift in our vision, a shift in what's happened. I guess I want to go a little bit deeper with Sherman on that question. What have you seen happening from that transition from where students were said, hey, we can't have you here, to where we are today with how you've been able to adapt through that?
Well, I think like anything, first of all, everybody's afraid of change. So anytime that there's a situation where you need to pivot, you need to change, nobody likes that. And I think what happens is our students, like our staff and our employees, there was no different. We went through the same process. It was one of those things that we need to change. We need to do things differently. We need to do things that we're not accustomed and we're not comfortable doing. And nobody likes that process. But you're either part of the problem or part of the solution. And I think that the leadership at Sherman College decided we're going to be part of the solution. we're going to go through these different things. We're going to go and do an online type of situation. Then we're going to do a hybrid method. And then from the hybrid method, as soon as our state is able to and is allowed to do things at 100%, we're going to go back on campus full time. And that's what's happened. We've navigated those challenging waters. Sometimes you're either in the midst of the storm, the storm is going to begin, or you're coming out of the storm. And I think we went through all those three situations at Sherman College. We went through the process that the students didn't know what was going to happen. The faculty, the employees didn't know. We came up with a plan. We started implementing the phases of those plans. We went through the process of being in the midst of the storm. And now we're kind of like coming out of the storm. We can start to see the sunlight. We can start to see some sunshine. We can start to see that it's time for us to continue to move forward. And every single person that was open-minded in the Sherman family learned from this process. And like you said, this is the time for you to grow. And so I think that there was a lot of growing on everybody's behalf at Sherman College.
Yeah, it's like, nobody wanted anything that happened, but now we have to find the gift in it. And, as Jorge Campos says, in the last 2 months, Sherman College has received 16 prospective student referrals from doctors in the field. This is a reflection of the good leadership that we have at Sherman College. I think that that's so powerful because the world of chiropractic needs great leadership more now than ever. And I think that people look at Sherman as the epicenter of the chiropractic universe when it comes to keeping chiropractic pure and unsullied, as BJ would ask for it to remain, and to protect the sacred trust, as most chiropractors kind of have their insignia of what they believe in, but not a lot of them are doing much to uphold that. And I know that you've had to face the fire when it comes to upholding that and going through that transition of time. I know that's been a big pair of shoes for somebody to walk with. So I want to thank you for everything you've done to build that leadership and that trust in the chiropractic market, because I know a lot of people are very confused with the direction of where the profession might be headed towards. But it's important to keep a very strong hold on where the future of chiropractic is going. And I want to commend you for your leadership ability to be able to do that and to make sure that we have a North Star. And that North Star is to keep chiropractic unique for what it delivers and to develop the future practitioner for what they can achieve. And I think that the American dream is to have the pursuit of happiness. And now you get a chance to develop that with the chiropractors of the future, which is the pursuit of happiness. And the pursuit of happiness is to give, love, and serve, but also to be able to develop a chiropractic method, which is also one that reflects and supports the past and one that also trailblazes for the future. And I believe that that's where you are at the helm of keeping chiropractic pure and allowing people to actually learn from the past, but also to be able to carry forth for their pursuit of happiness as a practitioner in the beautiful profession of chiropractic. I really see that as one of the reasons I wanted to have you on our show today, was because I know that you're probably at a very conflicted state with people knocking on your door saying, hey, do it this way, not this way. And you've had to actually learn that we have to do it this way in order to preserve this profession. And I know that that's a big position. So I want to also thank you for doing what you've done to keep chiropractic strong with that vision at Sherman.
Well, thank you so much, Jim. Those are beautiful words. I'm an ex-military guy, and one of the things that I learned, in the military was that as leaders, our job as leaders is to create other leaders. And so if we are on a mission and something happens to me, the leader, and I happen to get killed in action, then the mission stops if we've not prepared the other leaders to come behind us. And so we're not in competition with each other. We're really preparing leaders to continue the mission. And so when this stuff happened in 2020, one of the things that our leadership team did was immediately start putting things together and identifying leaders. Who do we put responsible to handle this aspect of it? And who do we put to be responsible for this? Who's the leader that we see has the potential to be a leader, but because of the opportunities were not there, couldn't be step up to the plate. And so it wasn't just a matter of navigating through the challenges and the difficulties. It was also thinking, what's the next step? Where do we prepare? Where is our leaders? How do we implement it? What's the mission? How do we continue to supply the vision? How do we continue to create hope in a hopeless world? And you said that so eloquently. We have a responsibility, and as leaders, we have to be transparent. Who you see me, like Jim and Luke, both of you know that 2 years ago, maybe a little bit more than when we first met, who you met back then is the same person you're speaking to today. Because I'm an individual that's transparent. I say what it is. I tell you the truth. My life is an open book. And whether you see me, Edwin Cordero, as the husband, or Edwin Cordero as the father, or Edwin Cordero as the grandfather, or Edwin Cordero as a president, I'm the same person, because I am who God has created me to be, with the gifts that he's created me, to have. And that's what we need. This world needs transparency. It needs hope. It needs truth. It needs leaders that are going to be able to lead from a perspective of situational management. It's not the same old cookie cut, because the circumstances are different. So you have to learn how to manage from a situational leadership perspective. And I think that that's what we have done at Sherman College. And that's why we've been able to navigate these difficult waters, and we've gotten hit. It's not that we haven't gotten hit, but not like other institutions and other organizations that maybe were just a little bit more narrow-minded in the way that they operate their organizations.
Well, from you saying that, it stirs up a lot of emotion with me. And what I've noticed that you've been able to accomplish is add more chiropractic into the chiropractic education. And that really excites me and gets me going, because I've seen where a lot of the other institutions take chiropractic out of the chiropractic education. And I know that they need a good influential leadership panel. And they said, like you said, who do I give this responsibility to? Well, without default, they've given that responsibility to you. And they've given that responsibility to you to uphold that standardization of ethical stance, transparency, and keeping chiropractic in chiropractic. And I want to applaud you for that. And I know that you're doing a great deal to make sure that perpetuates into the future, and that when you pass on the mantle to the 6th president of Sherman College Chiropractic, that gets passed down with a trail that you've blazed and said, this is how it's done. This is why we do it this way. And this is the outcomes we're looking for. So I think, for me, I look at myself on the journey I've been with as almost a chiropractic politician. So I've been able to see what's gone on behind the scenes of a lot of the organizations. I've had a chance to meet some of the great leaders of this profession. And what I know is you've come from a pedigree of the Rhinos, which is Fred Schofield's coaching. And I know that, one of the reasons that you've become who you are today was because of your relationship with Fred. And you brought that into the future. And now you're bringing that to the education standard. And I acknowledge you for what you do and where you've come from and what you've been able to accomplish. And I know that it has it hasn't been the easiest thing. I'm sure a lot of people have had an eye of judgment for what you've done and how you've done it. And they want a piece of what Sherman stands for, and they want to start making it more like the other chiropractic colleges in the world. And I'm glad that you've drawn a line in the sand and said, not here, not today, not ever. This is how we do things over here at Sherman. And we are going to be the epicenter of the chiropractic universe for the education standards that we uphold. And
thank you. It's funny. There's an old saying in the Latin American culture that says nobody knows what's inside the kitchen other than the chef that's cooking the meal. And so, to me, that's truthful. People want to be sideline cheerleaders for what's happening, telling, well, if you did this at the school, and if you tried that at the school, and this is what I think you need to do, and why are you guys doing this, and why are you doing that? I think that a lot of times, they have no idea what it is to run a principal organization, to be able to stay congruent, to be able to navigate the rules and the regulations and what the state can and cannot permit you to do, to be able to navigate what the federal government allows you or doesn't allow you to do because of the loans that the students use to be in an institution. There's so many balls to juggle that people have no idea. That people see the highlight reels and they go, wow, that's something that I could do. It's a piece of cake, I could do that with one hand behind my back. But in reality, it takes a team effort. I happen to be the face of Sherman College. I happen to be the president of the college. I happen to be that person. But guess what? It takes a village. I have an incredible executive team. I have an incredible group of directors, of vice president, associate vice presidents, and directors and deans that make it look simple. And people go, oh, Dr. Cordero. But in reality, it's a family effort. And that's what you don't see. And so it's funny to me when people throw darts at us as an institution or as an individual. But the reality is, unless you've been in my shoes, you have no idea. And so I appreciate what you and Luke do. I appreciate your comments. Thank you so much for giving the props, because there's a lot of work that goes into this. And like I said, the outcome is what you see. You don't see the journey of getting to the outcome, and so that's where the blood, sweat, and tears actually happen, in that journey. And so we've had an incredible journey. I just celebrated at the beginning of my 9th year in January, and it blows my mind, that I'm doing this. And I never thought 9 years ago that I was even going to be in this capacity as president of Chiropractic Institution, as a leader in this profession. So I'm very proud of myself, and I definitely am very humbled by the words that you have shared with me.
So what would you say are the most impactful things to happen at Sherman in the last 5 years?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that have been very impactful. Number one is that we've created a template that's going to proceed the leadership. In other words, we've created a template that's bigger than Edwin Cordero. We've created a template that's bigger than the Board of Trustees of Sherman College. We've created a template that no matter what happens to the individual, the organization continues to move forward because we've planned it to be that way. Most institutions or organizations, and this happened in chiropractic in the early years, and this, in chiropractic, it used to be about one leader. It was BJ Palmer. It was Dr. Sigafus. It was Dr. Dick Santos. It was about Dr. Sid Williams or Reggie Gold. And then what's happened? All those leaders have passed on. And so now the question was, oh my God, who's the next? Who's the next? Well, there is no next leader. It's all of us coming together to be able to ensure that this profession is going to continue to perpetuate, not because I'm in it, but because of the work that we've done to ensure that the future leaders can continue this profession. And I think that that's one of the biggest challenges at Sherman College, was that I think Sherman College as an organization had never planned for what's next. It was always what's happening now, reacting and being, reactive instead of being proactive. So I think that that's one of the things that was one of the biggest things for me, is that how do we take this organization to continue it to become fruitful and be able to leave a legacy of what Sherman stands for, regardless of who's at the leadership helm. And I think that was very challenging. And I think that we've done a great job in creating a plan for future generations, leadership, and for the organization to do what the organization does, which is to produce the best doctors of chiropractic that are qualified in the art, science, and philosophy, in the business acumen and entrepreneurship, and to be able to go out into their communities and make a difference with the gift of chiropractic.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Chiropractic Rocks, True Weight Solutions, The 100-Year Lifestyle, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Ultimate Entrepreneur Opportunity, BrainTap, Sherman College of Chiropractic, SCED, ChiroPro Accounting, and Midwest Brain Health Technology. Let's hustle.
Maybe you could touch upon who have been some of your heroes and leaders that you've looked up to on your journey to be where you are today. whether they be, chiropractic or not?
So that's a great question. And Luke, thank you for asking that, because I think what people don't realize is we get so involved in our profession and we forget about other people that have helped us. I was talking to my mom and dad. They're my number one influence. I come from very humble beginnings, and people just assume that because I'm a leader in this profession, but I'm a first generation graduate of education in my family. I'm the first doctor of any kind in my family. And it was because my parents always instilled in me that I can do whatever it is that I chose to do, as long as I put my mind, my heart, and my efforts into it and making the sacrifices that are necessary. Nothing comes easy. You have to make the sacrifices. And so my number one mentors are my parents. We were talking off air a few minutes ago when I was growing up in Puerto Rico. So I grew up in Philly. Okay, my parents lived in Philadelphia. So I was born in Puerto Rico, moved to Philly, lived a couple of years, and due to an unforeseen circumstance, we had to go back to Puerto Rico. We ended up going back to Puerto Rico. My parents never wanted me to learn the language, my English skills and the English culture. So every summer they would take me from Puerto Rico as a young man. I was probably 8 years old. And every summer they would send me to Detroit, where my relatives lived. And I would live the whole entire summer. I would work, I would do whatever needed to be done so I can maintain the language skills, I can maintain the cultural skills, and still come back to Puerto Rico and keep those. So my parents gave me a blessing of owning two languages, speaking both languages perfectly, reading it, writing it, living the lifestyle, because they decided that every summer they wanted to send me to Puerto Rico at the time when we lived in the United States. And so my parents are my number one mentors. I mean, I've looked up to them and I continue to look up, and I have a relationship. I am 60 years old. I still call my parents 2 or 3 times a week and speak to them in Puerto Rico. Why? Because they're my mentors. They're the reason why I am where I am today, because of the fundamental things that they've instilled in me as a young man. My mom was telling me that when I was 2 years old, we were living in Puerto Rico. In Puerto Rico, they have the vendors of fruits and vegetables. They would go around the development in pickup trucks and with a loudspeaker, say, hey, we have avocados and we have mangoes and we have all these different things. Come out and buy 2 for $1. My mom said that at 2 years old, I would listen to that. I would get an empty box from the garage and I would go out there and try to sell stuff. So I was a salesman at 2 years old, didn't even know it, and here I am 60 years old, technically becoming the salesperson for my profession, not knowing the skill sets that at 2 years old that were implemented. I also, in the chiropractic profession, have had some mentors. We talked about Dr. Fred Schofield, Dr. Sid Williams, Dr. Sigafus, Dr. Dick Santo, Dr. Bob Sotilli, Dr. Didi Umber, incredible amount of people that poured in to my life that now, years later, I am the leader that I am because of these individuals, Luke. So those are the key people. I know there's a lot more people. Of course, my wife has been an incredible mentor, supporter. She's the one that tells me to my face, you're wrong. You said this, you should have said that. And, a lot of leaders are not humble enough to say, you know what, if it wasn't for my wife, Debbie, I wouldn't be the man that I am today.
Well, thank you. That's a very humble and brilliant expose on leadership and what it takes to become somebody and where we got what we know. And I think a lot of times people just, they want to reflect on yesterday and they don't realize that the things that they were learning at 5 years old shaped them to become the person they are at 60. And where they were, where they grew up. My brother Dennis will always tell me one of the things he loves most about me is I never forget where I grew up. And
that's right.
I think that that's something that needs to be remembered from all these doctors. And when I interview a student, my favorite thing to ask them is something that you touched on is, what does it mean for you to be the first doctor in your family? And I think that that's something very honorable. And that's why we need to make sure we perpetuate the success of these doctors, because we know what happens when somebody becomes the hope for that family and that generation, and it doesn't go the way that we hope it to go. And we know what happens for a chiropractor when they don't have the support once they actually go through the education process and become that first doctor in the family. We have to do a better job at supporting the future chiropractor, and we have to do a better job at supporting the future of chiropractic. And we have to say, okay, so this person is going to be a graduate of this prestigious institution. Now we need to make sure that after that 5 years that they're a success, that they are not going to be one of those statistics that became the doctor that was unsuccessful. And I think that that's something that's very true to my heart, and why we do a lot of what we do is because we do want to protect free speech in chiropractic. We do want to protect the future of chiropractic with documenting these stories. And when I go back, when you're 75, Dr. Cordero, and we watch this video in 15 years from now, we're going to go back and reflect and say, wow, that was so powerful and so important that we had that conversation and documented that day, because now we see that chiropractic is thriving. It's becoming something greater than we could have ever hoped for. And it is because we allowed chiropractors to become more successful with the education that they received for that pursuit of happiness, for their ability to go out and give, love, and serve, which is the real philosophy of chiropractic. But without the actual business acumen and success, what is it for? Well, we have to reestablish that. So I think that what you're able to accomplish there at Sherman, you're actually proving this, and you're setting people up with those success strategies to where they don't just get a piece of paper and the ability to go out there and be lost. I think that financially dependent chiropractors, we have to pull that away from them and let them become practice dependent. And I think that when we don't set them up with a strategy to become financially supported and baseline effective, then we're going to have a group of people that are basically out there learning how to swim when they should already learn how to swim before they get out into the profession.
And you know what's really cool about that, Jim? What's really cool about that is the fact that I think that the students or the new doctors forget that, how difficult it was for them to get through the program, and then they have what it takes, the sacrifices, and then they go out there and they sabotage themselves thinking that they can't, but they have all the necessary tools. And so if there's not a support system to help them through that initial process until they get out into the real world and start talking to patients and start experiencing the power that they have in their hands, the knowledge that they have in their brain, and the love and hope that they have to share with mankind, with the gift of chiropractic. Once they get out there and start to experience those things, they start to realize that, you know what? Sherman gave me an incredible foundation, gave me all the necessary tools, showed me the difference of what the science, art, and philosophy was all about, gave me some business acumen and entrepreneurship for me to become as successful as I choose to be. And you know what? Some people are not ready for that level of success. And some of them come out of school a week later, seeing 300, 400, 500 patients a week. Everybody is different, but you need to know that this profession matters. And if the leadership of our profession doesn't continue to think about the generations to come, we're going to be in trouble. And so therefore, one of the things that I'm always constantly thinking is, I had a responsibility to take over this institution, but also to become a leader in this profession. What is my contribution in the past 9 years, or whatever amount of years that I have left being able to be a leader? What is that contribution going to do to help the next generation of doctors of chiropractic and our profession? And if everybody came from that perspective, how much better would this profession be? What you and Luke are doing, you guys are leaving a legacy behind for future generations to say, wow, we had two guys that weren't even chiropractors. They were just passionate about this profession and actually did more good for our profession than actually chiropractors that became chiropractors, and they chose not to do anything at all. And so therefore, I'm very humbled and I'm very grateful to be friends with you guys personally and professionally, because you guys are doing an incredible job to promote this incredible profession for generations to come.
Well, that sentiment of appreciation is like a mirror. We look at you the same way. And when you say these things, I think the chiropractic colleges that are not being interviewed by us and not being a guest on our shows with their presidents, they're going to look at what we're doing with you. And I just want to give a message to everybody that if you protect the future of your graduates, then your college will grow in the right path. And if you can protect the future of the chiropractors that you produce, those students will grow into be very strong leaders in the profession, and they'll tithe back to your college. And I think that that's something that we have to really consider is the future of chiropractic. We have to insulate those graduates because they're our greatest product for success of the future. And if you don't basically build and insulate them around once they become that doctor and give them the skill sets to become a successful doctor, we know what the outcome is when that isn't protected. But when it is protected, we see what happens is now we can promote from within. We can teach the future of chiropractors to be more successful and to not just be a flash in the pan, but to build that longevity. Those are the people that are going to basically lay out the road for the rest of the future for chiropractic, and they're all going to be coming from Sherman. And I think that that's massively important to roll out the people that are going to be the chiropractors, but also the people that are going to be implementing the strategy to give back to Sherman, but also raising up the next future of who they're going to be referring to where to go get an education from because of that standardized growth, that standardized protection, and that standardized education. So I think that when you think about the potentiality of where chiropractic can go, well, it has to come from leadership. And, people asked me before, what would I do differently to change the chiropractic profession? I would go out there and I would remove all the leadership at all those schools that took chiropractic out of their schools. And I'd put people in there just like you, Dr. Cordero. I'd put people in there that had chiropractic first, second, and third on their mind. And I'd revamp the leadership at all those other schools. And I'd put real chiropractic leaders at those schools to start putting chiropractic back into those schools.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm grateful that the Board of Trustees, when they elected me, saw something different. They were going in a different direction, and they wanted somebody that was slightly different. Successful, yes. Understanding chiropractic, yes. Not necessarily the academic individual that normal schools have. So I'm grateful that they gave me an opportunity, and I was able to use my skill set and the skill set of the people that I'm privileged to call my teammates at Sherman College to work a program that we're preparing leaders for the future generations of chiropractic. And so, I'm grateful for that. It's sad. It breaks my heart to know that if you were in a role of leadership and you didn't give it your all, and you did something that's for the bigger picture, not necessarily for your own ego, I think that you really have stolen from people. We're here today, we're gone tomorrow. And the only thing that's important is the dash between the date of birth and the date of death. And what did you do with that dash? I hope that dash, I've kind of did everything that I can possibly to make a difference for humanity, for chiropractic, for the profession, for the students I'm privileged to be able to work with the faculty. I have such an incredible faculty. I mean, you've interviewed, if not all of them, most of them, the Brian Dooleys and the Christopher Kents and the Armin Rossi's and, the Jillian Kirsch. And, we have so many talented individuals at Sherman College, and it's not by happenstance. It's because they're supposed to be here at this institution at this time to be able to make a difference with the gifts that we all have.
So if you had to pick one thing about yourself that you would change or improve, what would that be and why?
Well, I think that's a very difficult question because we all think that we're perfect. And I love Dr. Sid Williams because, Dr. Sid Williams taught us that when you're perfect, you start to rot. And so there was this thing at Life College that, when they ask you, hey, how are you doing? You would say near perfect. And the meaning behind that was if you say you were perfect, that means you're rotting, so you're always striving to be perfect. And I think that one of the challenges for me is that I'm a perfectionist, in my own way, I'm a perfectionist. And so if it was a negative thing that I could, bring out is the fact that I want things to be perfect. I want things to be a certain way. I want things to be this way. My wife has woken me up many times after 38 years of marriage to say, no, that's not the way it is. And you know what? You have to humble yourself because, I want things to be perfect, but we live in an imperfect world with imperfect people. And you know what? I think that that's one of the negative things, if anything, and that I'm always striving to learn to not be perfect, because I'm not, and be able to trust more and be able to delegate more and be able to do things that allow my longevity as a leader to be exponentially growth. Because you know what? I can't do it all, and if I think that I can, then I'm not allowing people to grow. And so it's just being that perfectionist is a negative thing that I constantly am trying to work on as an individual to be a better leader and a better person and a better husband and a better grandfather and a better son as well.
That's some pretty good advice. What would be some additional advice you might give to, say, a chiropractic student who might be struggling right now?
Well, I think that one of the things that chiropractic students, and not just chiropractic students, individual at large, is that we don't realize that everything takes time. Principle number 6 of chiropractic. And so where you are right now in your walk, in your journey, has its purpose. You may not see the manifestation of that yet in that moment. So yes, you have to work hard. Yes, you have to study your rear end off. Yes, you got to go through the national boards. Yes, you got to pay all this money to get through school. Yes, you got to borrow all this money and then, pay for your boards. Yes, you have to rent, an apartment or a condo or whatever. And all these things have a purpose. And I think that what happens is that the students have short-sightedness and they don't realize that if you do all these things, at the end, you obtain what you're trying to accomplish. Don't look at it now, year one. You got to go through 3.5 years of schooling. Then you got to get through your boards. Then you got to get through your licensure through your states. Then you got to get out and learn what's really happening in the world of chiropractic, maybe by associating or opening up your own office. And 3 to 5 years into it, it all starts to make sense. This is why I had to do all these different things. Now I get it. I think the students this is the technique that I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to do it, and this is what I'm going to do. And they're in quarter 1, quarter 2, or quarter 3, or try 1, 2, or 3, not realizing that there's a set of things in your journey that you have to go through. You got to check it off, check it off, check it off. And then when you get out into practice, you start to see the big picture. It takes time. Do what you need to do. Do it with all your heart and all your passion. And trust me, there will be a moment that the switch is going to flip in your brain, and you're going to go, wow, now I get it. Too many students think that they have it figured out already. It's impossible. None of us have it figured out until we go through the experiences. Wisdom comes through experiences. The more experiences that you have, the more wisdom you then obtain, the more wisdom you can share with others. The reason that I have been a successful leader is because I have white hair, white beard, white mustache. I've been through 38 years of marriage, 5 grandchildren, a wife that's been incredible, 2 children, practiced for 20 years in a successful practice in West Palm Beach, Florida, have been able to travel the world, bring the message of principle chiropractic. That creates, all that experience creates wisdom. And now when somebody asks me, that I make it look easy, but it took me 28 years to make it look easy. I think that's the one advice that I would give the students. It's going to take time, energy, and effort, and then it's all going to come together, and you're going to go, boom, I get it. And now you become a successful doctor of chiropractic. Now you become a successful mentor. Now you become a person of wisdom. Now you can share that wisdom with everybody that wants to be part of your circle to learn from you.
Lots of integrity there. When people learn that, John DeMartini taught me this years ago, that overnight success takes 25 years. And when people get out there and start doing what they intended to do, that we just need to reframe the way they think about success. And we need to reframe what they get as they become who they are. And you're right. Tony Robbins said this too: success leaves clues. And if you spend time around successful chiropractors, once you're going through the education process, you get a chance to jump the line of influence, and you get a chance to be mentored earlier on through influence. And I think that there's a lot to be said about learning from people that have gone before you, and then passing that on to the next people that walk the path behind you. And I think that that's what chiropractic has, you know, meant to me, is people that have come before us have invited us into the greater profession of chiropractic. And as you know, people that come from the marketing perspective, they don't always become household and for the chiropractor, and they don't always become friends with the chiropractic profession, because most of those people come into the profession for a transactional relationship and not a long-term relationship. So it's been really cool to see how we can make sense of some of these things, but we can make greater sense of it because now we've been together for more time and we've gotten to know each other for what it means for you to do what you do, for what Luke and I do over on this side. So it's been really important for us to have that relationship that we've built within the chiropractic profession to become someone that's trusted. And I think that that's what we're saying. Chiropractors used to be known for maybe eating their young, but we have to be known now going into the future for supporting our young and giving them great resources to become a better version of themselves and to give them expectations that are capable at their capacity. And, everybody talks in chiropractic to have that high volume practice. Well, what if you had a mindful volume practice and you took care of people the right way all the time?
There you go.
And then you could get to the point where it becomes a high volume. So I think if we just had more of a mindful volume for people, they would realize what it means to take care of one person at a time. And then they would realize what it takes to take care of 20 people an hour. And I think, a lot of expectations are, I want to be just like them. Well, you can't be just like them until you become just like you. And I think that's what we have to instill into people, is there has to be some type of a legacy, like a threshold of accomplishment pattern, to where that they can say, okay, I've learned how to be just like me and work on one person the right way and deliver the goods to that person the right way. And now I can start to take mentorship with people that have done the next thing. And now I can go to learn from these people or this person and learn the next thing. And I got a great education. I learned the idea about business management. I understood the idea about student loan management. And now I understand what I have to do to actually have a fulfilling career and who I should be networking with to make the next chapter more fulfilling. And I think that that's a very big responsibility of the individual, but it's not common knowledge. And that's why we have people coming out of school and they're like, I want 500 a week. Well, what does it take for you to get 50 a week? You have to start there. And it's like taking somebody that wants to come from the minor leagues and they want to go win the World Series in year 3. It takes a long time to build up that practice in order to win the big game. And I think that a lot of times people have to come to terms with themselves to know that if they want to win the big game, it takes a long time to come from the ranks of the guy that works at, the minor league team to the upper echelon to becoming the person on stage. It takes a long time for that development to happen. And you have to be very cautious of what you actually want, because then once you get it, you must want it. So if you do want that 500 person patient volume practice, you have to be able to have the capacity to uphold that too. So that's why the chiropractor that develops also can't leave their physical presence out of it too. They have to continuously work on their bodies and become stronger, because they are a professional athlete at the end of the day. When they're going out there working and they're going to work every day, they have to make sure that they're living that lifestyle as well, because I'm sure you've seen it in the past where when somebody doesn't uphold a great physical presence, their body will eventually start to feel like they're in the trenches and they're not out there as a performing artist. And I think that that's something we also have to kind of get people's minds wrapped around as well, as they develop into who they're supposed to become. They can't live one dimensional. They can't only worry about business. They can't only worry about technique. They can't only focus on, what seminars they attend and who they mentor under. They have to live that lifestyle, take care of the body, take care of the mind, take care of their techniques, take care of their banking, and live that full dimensional chiropractic business model, but also live that full capacity to be able to deliver the goods and to be able to have self-preservation along the way. And those are a lot of topics most people don't talk about, because they only think that you have to become certified, you have to get you have to pass the boards and you have to open up. But they don't think about like what it means to actually keep their body together, their relationships together, the relationship with God strong. They have to do all of that. And that's a big set of shoes to walk in. And I just think that today's conversation was very necessary for not only you, but for us and for the people that are going to be watching this in decades to come. Well, we're coming up on the edge of our time together. I know that you do something amazing for chiropractic.
You reminded me of something.
Go ahead, jump in.
Yeah, what I was going to say is thank you. We have what's called a Showcase Sherman Weekend, and it's an opportunity for doctors that know students that are interested in finding a chiropractic school that they want to go to, and or students that are looking to become doctors of chiropractic. And it's a open house weekend where we fly in the students that are interested and qualify, and they spend 2 days with us. They fly in on a Thursday, spend all day Friday, all day Saturday to get a chance to be a student for the day. They go into the anatomy class, they go into a palpation class, they get a chance to check out the school, they get a chance to check out the town, so it's an immersion type of weekend to see if, number one, this is the right school for you. Most schools are show you a brochure, and you look at the brochure and it looks real pretty, but when you go there, it's not for you. This gives the student an opportunity. So it's called the Showcase Sherman Weekend. We just had one a couple weekends ago. Our next one is every quarter. Will be May 14th and 15th will be the next one. And all you got to do is go to our website and go to www.sherman.edu/showcase. And that way it gives you all the information, the qualifications. So if you're a student that's looking to come into our profession, a potential student, if you are a doctor that is referring students to chiropractic schools, please consider Sherman College as an option. One of the things that Jim and Luke, you and I always talk about this, don't send students to schools that are geographically close to them. Because if you had a choice to go to Harvard or your local university and money was not an option, I guarantee you would pick Harvard. It's the same thing with chiropractic schools. There's 20 chiropractic colleges in the United States. Not all of them are the same. So if you are going to send a student to a chiropractic institution, please consider Sherman College and, of course, Showcase Sherman as one of those weekends for them to come and experience. If you're a student and you want to bring your spouse, or you want to bring your significant other, or if you want to bring in your mom and your dad, we have opportunities for them to come and join us and go through the experience with you as well. So just go to www.sherman.edu/showcase.
Well, Dr. Edwin, we want to thank you so much for being our guest today and being so gracious with your time and being so open to share as being at the helm of Sherman College of Chiropractic and being able to be known, loved, and trusted, and sharing the story and telling the story and becoming somebody that became a friend of ours, but also somebody that's in the leadership role with the profession. We're humbly here with you today, and we're so thankful for the opportunity to spend some time with you.
Luke, Jim, thank you so much, guys, for the opportunity. May God bless you and your program and all the people you from now on, that it will be fruitful and meaningful, and knowing that the people that you interview are contributing their wisdom to make this world a better place. Thank you, guys, and God bless you.
Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.